there.
So who was on the phone, Rob?
It was the HR rep from Port Charlotte Fire and EMS.
Calling
Charlotte
you
County,
to
say, hey, we want to offer you a job.
Yeah! Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to another video. I'm Rachel, and this is Rob. That's our tiny terrorist. Be quiet. Sit down. And today we are going to share with you that Rob got a job. Rob is officially a firefighter. Fire medic, what are you?
Fire medic.
So we're going to take you on a little bit of a story time and all the way back to the beginning so then we can get to the end.
So I've worked in emergency rooms, trauma centers, pediatric emergencies for give or take 8 to 10 years.
You started at Broward Health?
I started at Broward Health, learned a lot of good people I met, and it was just an open door for information and always was busy, so never a dull moment there. And then I went ahead and went to Coral Springs. I worked pediatrics over there. And then the most recent one was West Boca, where I did everything. Adults and pediatrics. So why I chose not to go the nursing route is because of it's really difficult, I guess, for me to do their testing because it wasn't that, and I don't think I put enough effort into it as well for the testing part. So then I was
when you were in nursing school.
Correct. So then when it came to the fire thing, I'm like, well, it's something I haven't tried yet. And fire felt like something that I could commit to because it's not that it's cut and dry, but it is cut and dry because this is what you teach, this is why you're learning it, and this is what it's used for. It's very practical in a sense of the knowledge gained, used, and applied. Versus nursing is it's all over the place because you have one instructor who says this is how it's going to work, but then you go take a test and it's explained a little bit differently, and then the answers are tricky in a sense they don't coincide well. That's how I felt. I could be totally wrong.
And I thought fire because it was faster and much cheaper to go to fire school than it was nursing school. And I guess that's just my thought process.
That's it.
So we're praying about you going to school, and a nurse comes up to you while you're at West Boca and kind of offers you the simulation job, which I, believe it or not, got upset about because how is this fire school? If you didn't go and work for the sim center, would you have ever gone to fire school?
Only God knows that. So I really don't have a good answer for you.
So talk about your sim center experience and the guys that you met there and how that helped you.
Like a lot of the younger guys, like, Rob, you obviously are really good with all the medic stuff. Go to fire school, get it done. It's not that hard. If you can deal with physical stuff, the knowledge itself isn't that crazy. So,
because they're smart.
So they kept pushing me in a sense of like they were always in my ear about it. Like, Rob, you go sign up for fire school yet? You signed up for fire school yet? So I was like, no, I haven't done it yet. So.
But then at the same time, he also had me in his ear saying, babe, are you doing fire school? What are we doing? What are we doing? Because sim center, hospitals is not a long-term career path. So what we doing? Did you sign up? What we doing?
And I went on my half day from a sim center job over to the school, and I was like, hey, is there any spots open left for the entry physical? She's like, I literally have one spot left. I'm like, oh, can I come back tomorrow with paperwork? She's like, you probably want to do it today because it might get filled as soon as you leave here if you don't get it done. Okay, so I'm like, what do I have to do? She's like, you have to go online, submit your physical from a doctor, basically saying.
So you're at the school, you call the hospital, and you say, hey, I
Okay.
need this signed. And he said,
Absolutely. He's like, bring it in. So then I go in, and then he signs the form, and he's like, you're not going to die, are you? I'm like, no, I'm not going to die. So he fills it out, I upload it, I scan everything, I put it on the computer, I submit it to my profile, and I called the lady who does registration and a whole bunch of other stuff there, a really awesome lady, and I gave her a phone call and said, hey, would I get that spot? I'll never forget what she said. She's like, hey, are you playing a lotto today? Are you gonna go to the casino? I was like, no, I don't do those things really. And she was like, you just got the last spot into the entry physical. And I was like, holy crap, like, are you serious? So there's 120 spots. I was number 120. So I'm pretty sure I called you or texted you pretty much right away, or at least within a time frame. And you were like, oh, that's awesome. So it's basically, that was November.
I thought, oh, that was awesome. In the back of my head, honestly, I thought, why the heck are we waiting to be the 120th person?
But that
why
filled up,
aren't we being the third person?
That filled up in 3 or 4 days.
Yes. So what you have to do is you have 3 tracks for fire school. It's full-time.
Part-time, accelerated, or part-time.
Part-time. And we really sat down, thought about it, prayed about it, and we decided that Rob would take the 3 months off, and he would work full-time to get it done in the 3 months so that he could get a job faster, so that we could be starting our lives faster. He's in here. This is our bedroom. He's in here, and I'm out there on the computer, and we're both refreshing. At 11:55, refresh. Because he was the last one, so I wanted to be sure that he could get into full-time.
So I submitted everything, and I was probably one of the first 5 people who got the full-time because I was right on the computer. We were right there.
So you go through your 3 months. You love fire school.
So I was the second oldest in fire school. So there's a guy, I think he was my age or just maybe a year outside of my age. And then there was, the average age I think was like 20, maybe 21, somewhere in that realm. There's a few people. Everyone's very competitive. But what I learned very quickly in the school, they're like, all these times are just benchmarks. You just have to do better than that time to pass and move on.
So you don't need to be first. It's not a race. It's a race against the clock individually.
So I was very quick to learn. How much time do I have to do that? Okay, I have to train to be better than that time. We had some days that were really rough physically. Like I'd come home, Rachel would be like, what happened? So there's almost a story every day when I came home about just kind of what we did, the training, and a couple of the days that were like hell. Like they were bad because you're in full bunker gear.
Doing burpees. So you start school January 6th, 2020.
Yes.
Okay.
And about 2 months in, actually closer, like we're basically done. I think we were 3 weeks left of school. We were done all our POs. I passed everything. I was the only one in the whole class who passed everything. And it was...
So you're getting close to graduation.
Yes. Graduation, that didn't happen.
Because, this is 2020.
And coronavirus happened.
So we're having this buzz of coronavirus, and I just remember praying. I said, he has got to finish.
So we went ahead and we tried for, I think, a couple more days to stay going, and then they shut us down. Like, all right, we're going to reconvene, I think, in a week.
Yeah.
Because of the virus, obviously. And kind of what we had to do was...
The only thing you really had left was like the final written exam, correct?
We had the final written, but then we also had the physical, like the physical portion.
Yes, with the state.
The state physical portion.
So technically all of school was done.
School was done. Past school.
It was just the state stuff.
Yeah. So we got the okay, I think, the following week, because I think we had a week and a half of state prep, is what we called it. We were the only school at that time to be able to test. So we were very blessed in the sense that we were the only school in the state who had the ability to
finish school.
We're still, to this day, we've never had a graduation. We're probably the only class ever that didn't have a graduation, and or we didn't get to do a plaque. So we'll see what happens if we can ever get that accomplished.
They're not doing that.
Probably not, but.
I was going to give you a graduation hat and sing to you, but.
Oh well. So we finished.
Hallelujah. But
So-
now we're in Corona.
And then we're trying to sign up to take our written state, which was 100 or 150 questions. I forget. I think it was 100.
How many times did you sign up for that test? 4?
3 or 4.
And they kept getting canceled because
Yes.
of
Corona, which is,
the Wu flu.
Yep. So, long story short with that is our school got in touch with us saying, hey, one of the state reps is coming down from Ocala to test in-house in there. So she brought all the documents we needed to sign and fill out, and we had it spaced out, one person per row
With masks.
with masks, and it was fine. And I nailed the test, got a 93 on it, I think, something like that.
Awesome.
And I was officially considered a firefighter, firefighter 2, because there's firefighter 1 and 2. But we go ahead
And quarantine.
and we've been quarantined for a long time, so we
Sat around.
and
And
just
sat.
and tried to exercise and
Sat.
yeah.
I did do Murph every week of quarantine. For 10 weeks. We were quarantined 10 weeks. I'm pretty sure I did it 10 times. Maybe I did it a little more.
maybe. So we go through all that malarkey. And I'm like, all right, now it's time to start applying because some places are starting to open up. So we put an app in with Pompano. 3 months later, basically said sorry, and I was like, that's
why?
That's a little excessive.
But why?
Right. So then applied at Davie, which would have been great because it's down the street. They got back and did all the paperwork. It was pretty quick, but it took them a little bit actually to say sorry as well. Like, oh, you're overqualified. Your qualifications are superb, but we're not looking for you. So then I wasn't depressed, I would say.
But you were disappointed.
I was disappointed that I didn't get more of a
Response.
yeah.
Or a opportunity.
Right, to at least get some kind of interview.
Just talk to somebody.
I talked to Rachel long and hard. I was like, babe, I don't see anything happening over here. Other counties are opening up, but they're kind of far. Like, obviously, they're not 10, 20 minutes away. They're like a couple hours away.
But the departments down here in the east of South Florida don't require this team test.
The fire team test, which is basically a adult version of a TABE test for fire related, but not fire related because it doesn't really ask specific questions on fire in a sense.
But he still needed to take that, and so I was like, well, don't take that. No, nothing around here needs that. And then nothing was happening, so I said, well, okay, Rob, take the test. One of my clients said to me, and it kind of really stuck out to me, she said, you start 5 tops and 1 is going to stay up. So apply everywhere. Don't be picky, because I wanted Rob to be a little picky because I didn't want to leave. So
She was very resistant.
but then it's just like, okay, but he's not getting a job, so what is the point of going to school and spending the money and me working so hard for 3 months if for nothing?
Longer than 3 months.
Okay. Thanks. Appreciate that.
Now,
So then he applied everywhere. Where did you apply? Stanford.
Sanford, Northport, Okeechobee.
Oh, you applied at Northport? I didn't know that.
Seminole, St. Petersburg, and Charlotte County.
Charlotte County.
Charlotte County. So they got back to me within a few days, I think, if that. Like, if not the next
day. Yeah.
within that week period when I submitted everything. So they're like, oh, everything looks good, but you need this fire team test, and we're only keeping our application process open for another week or so. They didn't really give me a time, but they said very soon. We're trying to get candidates in the interview. So I said, I'm going to register for it, and luckily I think that was a Thursday or Friday they got back to me. I took the test on Tuesday of the following week. In the morning, I did good. I think I got a 91 overall on the test. And then Wednesday or Thursday,
They called you.
they called me and said, hey, you know, we like all your stuff. We want to set you up for an interview. I was like, what?
So me, my mom, and Rob drive to Port Charlotte.
Yep.
Which, for those of you that don't know, Port Charlotte is
West coast of Florida.
West coast of Florida, north of Fort Myers, south of Tampa. Nestled in there between Sarasota and Cape Coral.
Yes. So
we're there. You interview.
I went to the interview, and there was the deputy chief, a lieutenant, and an HR representative there, and it was I felt very welcomed, which was good because it probably made me feel more at ease, and it wasn't super stressful. Like, a lot of people tell me some fire interviews are, like, very tough. I went through the interview, and I felt very confident when I finished, and like, all right, like they said, do you have any questions for us? And it was something simple, just like, what do you expect out of your staff? And then they kind of went over it.
You asked this question.
Yeah. Just to kind of dive in a little bit deeper to build a little bit more of a rapport. Then they're like, all right, you got to go to an EMS scenario, which, again, I work at a sim center, so I wasn't worried about it. I made sure I brushed up on a few things the night before, and went in pretty confident. So we go ahead, and I go through the whole thing. I fly through it, and I'm like, man, I feel like I did this too easily. And I finished like, oh, is there anything else? I'm like, nope.
So he gets in the car, and he's like, well, they told me that they'll let me know in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And me and my mom both look at each other and roll our eyes. 2 weeks? That's ridiculous. And I said, come on. Either you know or you don't. Like,
I guess.
2 weeks, I gotta wait? So I then mentally just prepared to suffer for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And so Rob is driving, has the directions to the restaurant on his phone, which was slightly frustrating because we're getting closer to the restaurant, and all of a sudden, his phone rings. And it said on there, Port Charlotte. With the phone number, you know how it says where it's from? Port Charlotte. I said, well, I guess you gotta answer that.
That could only be
one thing.
Fair.
So who was on the phone, Rob?
It was the HR rep from Port Charlotte Fire and EMS.
Calling
Charlotte
you
County,
to
say, hey, we want to offer you a job.
Yeah!
2 hours after the interview, I believe.
2 hours, not 2 weeks, 2 hours.
Maybe that's what they meant to say. I don't know.
So you got the job.
I got the job.
Congratulations. Check on that. So, when's your start date?
The 21st of October, which is in 2 weeks tomorrow.
2 weeks tomorrow. Congratulations to Rob.
Thank you.
It is all very, very exciting stuff. But there's another story we have to tell you.
Do we?
Mm-hmm. But that is going to be part 2 of this video. So I will link it down below once it's posted. Series? It's a little series.
Oh, look at you trying to be a producer or something.
Oh. So, once it is released, it will be linked down below, and we'll see you in that video. Like, comment, and subscribe for more videos just like this one.
Yeah, do that.
Stay safe and peace out. People that are gonna die.
Yeah, or just, but
Be
there's
sick.
Right. More people that are gonna come to the hospital more often than not. So, yeah. So I talk a lot. I have diarrhea of the mouth. I'll just keep going. Like probably this whole video is like an hour long.
She's fine. Cutting that part out.
So you gotta cut out. There's a lot of editing.
A lot of editing. I tried to tell him to edit ahead of time, but no.
You can't pre-edit this. It's there.
Diarrhea.
You looked at Rachel. She's like, She's like freaking out.
I don't do that.
She was crying.
I don't do that.
You don't?
I don't look like a seal.
Rip off, by the way, so we'll never go back there again. Especially now that we're moving. So